Hey, thanks for joining me on another episode of Why Not Go. I'm Maggie, and I appreciate everyone watching and subscribing and putting comments. I love the comments. Well, this video is another London video, and it's about Malcolm McLaren. I go to the location of his office, his management company, which was called Glitterbest on Oxford Street, and then later I go to his gravesite in Highgate Cemetery. Glitterbest was his management company, and I just wanted to talk about the origins of it. When Malcolm first started managing the Sex Pistols, he didn't have an office. He didn't have a proper office, rather. He worked out of Helen Wellington Lloyd's flat on Bell Street, Helen of Troy, who obviously is in the Rock and Roll Swindle movie. And but when he signed to EMI, when the band signed to EMI, he got an advance of £40,000, and the contract was for 2 albums over 2 years. And so with that £40,000, he was able to move out of the extra room in her flat on Bell Street into a proper office on Oxford Street. And I go there in the video, and I didn't realize that when I went there previously, I didn't realize that it was right across the street from the 100 Club. The location is 119 Oxford Street. It's 27 Dryden Chambers. And I remember going there in August of '77 when I delivered the leather jacket to Steve Jones. And that's in my Sex Pistols on Tour video. And by the way, I have a Sex Pistols playlist now. So if you just want to go to any other Sex Pistols videos that I have, you can just go and look at the Sex Pistols playlist. So yes, I went there in August of '77, and I just returned recently and just looked at the outside. I didn't try to go inside because I wasn't sure how to gain access, but I remember going in from the front and going up a very windy staircase. So that's where Malcolm managed their career, and it's very interesting. As I said, he got the advance money from EMI, and that was in October. And then before that, in September of 1976, it was actually the day that they played the punk festival at the 100 Club, which again, it was right across the street. He signed them to a management contract, and apparently it was for 3 years to a management agreement where he kept 25% of their earnings. Apparently this was a 5% more than what was the norm. And there was also a clause in the contract that said that he owned the name Sex Pistols, and he created the name Sex Pistols. And of course, John Lydon, later joined by the other band members, ended up suing him later in 1978 to nullify the contract, and they won that case, of course, and were able to sever ties with him and to take the name back. And when they signed the management contract, as I said, that was the day of the punk festival. Their wages were £25 a week, which is less than half the national average. But I'm sure they were probably happy to have a wage and to be able to be in the band full time. So I went, as I said, it's on my Sex Pistols on Tour video. I went to the office back in August of '77, and I've mentioned this in a previous video, but his secretary, Sophie Richmond, was so kind, and she gave me this packet, big press packet. She probably gave me more photos than was in a normal press packet. I have a lot of photos here. I'm so glad that she gave that to me. And then also in there was this, I don't think this is designed by Jamie Reed, the artist, but it's a neat sort of cartoon poster. And at the bottom here, it's blank, and you're supposed to fill it in to, how you think what's going to happen in the future, which is kind of interesting, considering that I don't know if anyone would have known that they would have been broken up just a few months later. So yeah, and then Glitterbest, it's very interesting because he was very unusual at the time to have a full-time artist, Jamie Reed, and it was a very kind of close-knit group because Jamie Reed and Sophie Richmond, Malcolm's secretary, personal assistant, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and Malcolm knew Jamie Reed from going to art college with him back in the 60s. And the other person that Malcolm knew from art college was Rory Johnston, who was their American representative, and he was the person that I knew in LA, and that's how I got to go to the management office in the first place. So it seems like it was a very tight-knit group of people that knew him from art college in the 60s, including Helen Wellington Lloyd. There's this great book. I have the one that came out in 1978, Sex Pistols book, and this was also written by old art college friends of his, Fred and Judy Vermerel. And a lot of the book is Sophie Richmond, is her diary about the band. So it's very, very interesting. It's sort of a very intimate look at the band during their early days. So before I get to our location video, I just I've never told this story before. It's when I went to deliver Steve Jones' jacket, as I said, to the Glitterbest office there on Oxford Street. She asked me to take some things back, and I said sure. I was a big fan, and also I have mentioned before I missed an opportunity to see them. They were playing as the Spots, and I believe it was in Wolverhampton, and I think that was August 18th, 1977. But she gave me some things to take back, and one of them, mostly it was press kits. She gave me a big pile of press kits that filled up a lot of my suitcase, but I was fine. I was happy to do it. And then the other thing that she gave me was a videotape, and I didn't know what was on it. It just said boat, I think it said boat party or boat trip. And I knew that they had done the Jubilee boat party, and then Malcolm and some of them got arrested afterwards because the police shut down the party. So I figured that's what it was, but the video just said boat party. And so I bring the tape back with the press kit and everything. And when I got home, that evening, or the day that we got back, it was a few days later. When I got back to LA, I remember calling my friend Sue, and I said, the girl I went on tour with the Sex Pistols, and I said, I have to go I deliver the jacket, and then I've got to go to Rory's house to deliver Rory's office, to give him the things that I brought back, the press kits and this video. And the first thing she said was, well, we have to make a copy of it. And I said, I'll just give it back to Rory and ask him to make a copy. And she was very smart. She was more savvy than me. And she said, no, he's not going to make a copy for you. You're not going to see it again. So it was just such a funny time. That a band like that, who were really getting a lot of attention, would trust some important things to a fan to deliver. Trust those things with a fan, and I said, Rory's expecting me back in his office tomorrow, and she says, no. She says, don't go to his office tomorrow. She said, you call him and you tell him in the morning that you're sick, you're jet lagged, whatever. Make up an excuse, and we'll call around and we'll see if we can make a copy of it. And back then, this is before VHS, this was Betamax, and it was a British version of Betamax that wouldn't even play in the United States. So she lived in Orange County. She got on it right away the next morning. She called around, and she found a place that would that would copy a British Betamax to an American, make a copy on an American Betamax. but it wasn't going to be instant. It took us a day to kind of find this place, and then it took them another day to get it and to give us the copy. But I'm so glad that she did. Rory was fine. He did call my house wondering, like, when are you going to come and bring me the package from Sophie Richmond? So I got there a couple of days later, and I gave him the package. I delivered it, the tape and the press kits. And it's funny, he shared an office with Blondie's, I think, West Coast representative, and it's kind of ironic that all these years later that Glenn Matlock is now a member of Blondie. I think that's kind of interesting how things are so, I don't know, so circular in a way. So we were very happy Sex Pistol fans, even though I didn't see them as the Spots that summer, which I still regret to this day. Sue and I played that tape over and over again, and we just felt so happy that we had it. And it was, in fact, a recording of them on the Jubilee boat trip, which now you can see everywhere on the internet. Although my copy might be, maybe longer. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while, but now you can see, a similar tape, if not the exact tape, everywhere of them on the boat, and then the police getting them off the boat at the end. And the other thing on the tape, which was so exciting, was a video of God Save the Queen, the promo video, which I think they shot at the Marquee. So we were just so happy. I'm so glad that my friend Sue said, you got to make a copy of it. Rory can wait. We got to have a copy of that video, which I still have today. Yes, I hope you enjoyed this on location video. As I said, Malcolm's world was very close. Rory Johnston, the person I knew, was his art school friend, and Sophie Richmond and Jamie Reed. Jamie Reed was his art school friend, and they were the ones that managed the career of the best band ever, the Sex Pistols, in those early days. So I hope you enjoyed the video. All right, so I'm on Oxford Street at the famous 100 Club, and so much stuff went on there. It was really hard to film here with all the people. This is where the punk festival was back in September 1976. So great. So now I'm going to move the camera around, and I'm going to cross the street, because right across the street was Malcolm's, boy, it's busy today. Right across the street was Malcolm's office, Glitterbest, and this is where I came in August of '77 to deliver the jacket to Steve Jones. So it's right near the corner of Wardour Street and Oxford Street, and it's right back here in this building. This is where I came, and this is where Malcolm's office was. He opened this office after he moved out of Helen Wellington Lloyd's apartment, and he was up here with his secretary who I met, Sophie, and Jamie Reed. Jamie Reed was her boyfriend, and it was so unusual at the time for Malcolm to have a full-time graphic artist. That was really unusual, to have a full-time graphic artist. So I believe it was on the second or third level, the office. And I never saw Malcolm's inside office, but it was, I did see her outside office area, and it was small. I think it was just a couple rooms, the office. So that's really neat. So you have the 100 Club on one side, and then you have right right through here and up a very windy staircase. And as I said, I don't remember exactly what floor he was on. He and Sophie Richmond and Jamie Reed, but they were up here. And now it's, I don't remember it being as busy. And I don't know if I can go in here, but, oh, now it's a store. Yeah, there's nothing to film in here. But this was the entrance, and then it was a windy staircase. So yeah, so now Malcolm's office is, the entrance is a store, so things change. Anyway, I hope you like the little bit of the tour of Malcolm's office and the 100 Club. Oxford Street. Oxford Street, 1977. You went in there up a windy staircase to Malcolm's office. Glitterbest. And I believe he opened Glitterbest after he got the advance money from EMI. After he got the advance money from EMI, he was able to have a proper office space. So interesting. I never knew it was right across the street from the 100 Club. That's interesting. The 100 Club, the Sex Pistols played, I think, around 9 or 10 times. And obviously it was the site of the punk festival. Love it. All right, here's a picture of Sophie Richmond at the Glitterbest office. She's there at her typewriter. And I like this picture. That's the way the office looked to me. I remember when I walked in, it was very small. And I sat in front of her desk there and talked a little bit. And then Steve and Paul came. Steve came by right away because he wanted to see the leather jacket that I brought from LA. So she was the one who probably dealt with the band on a day-to-day basis more than anyone. In an interview she did in the year 2000, she said that Steve and Paul were the easiest to deal with, to work with. She said they were very nice. She said John Lydon was more difficult, although she did say she liked him a lot. But she said he was a little more difficult and liked to stay with his friends like Jaw Wobble from Northwest London. And Sid, she didn't like very much at all. I think she said that he was difficult to deal with and very immature were her words about Sid. But yeah, she dealt with the band every day, all the logistics, where they were going, and organizing, their pay, and I'm sure she had a lot to do there working with Malcolm. And after the Glitterbest went into receivership, after the band broke up, and I guess was by the end of the 70s, it went into receivership. She changed. She didn't stay working in rock music. She went into book publishing, and as of the year 2000, she was working editing. I believe it was anthropology books. If she's still around, I'd love to interview her. I do remember her being very nice, very quiet. And she loved the band. Also in that 2000 interview that she did, she said that her quote was, "They were the only band on earth, the only music worth listening to." So she wasn't just Malcolm's assistant and Jamie Reed's girlfriend. She was a big fan of the band. She loved the band, and I think that makes it very special. So the next pictures I'm showing are of Jamie Reed, Sophie's boyfriend. I believe they lived together at the time. And as I said earlier, Malcolm was very unusual to have a full-time art director working at the office for a new band. I think most bands at the time would have maybe the record company do their artwork, but not Malcolm. I think for him the band was not just a labor of love, but an art project for him, as well as his old friend from art college, Jamie Reed. So this is obviously Anarchy in the UK. I believe this is a poster, an early poster that he did. I love that. The next piece here is, it's obviously the single Pretty Vacant. I always love the cover for Pretty Vacant. I love the broken glass there. I just started laughing when I saw that. It's like you're so pretty that you crack the mirror or crack the glass. But I thought that was so clever. And then the next piece of artwork here is, it's obviously the album on the right, and I think that's a God Save the Queen poster on the left. I love the ransom style note lettering. I believe Helen Wellington Lloyd was the first one to start using that in their artwork and some early flyers, but he obviously took it a step further. He used that lettering for so many of the pieces that he did. And this is the God Save the Queen single cover. I always loved it. I always loved the color blue. I just thought it was so clever when I first saw this single and bought it. I guess it's kind of shocking for its time. But just the oval around the face and the way that her eyes and her mouth is covered up there. I just thought that was so brilliant. Such a talented artist, Jamie Reed. Unfortunately, he passed away a year or two ago in Liverpool, but such a talent. And then the last piece of art I'm showing here is, I believe this is a promotional poster for Pretty Vacant, the single. And I always love the buses, the Nowhere buses. On the left, obviously, it says Nowhere. On the right, it says Boredom. I just love the Nowhere buses or the Boredom buses. I thought that was so clever, so well done. I just thought his artwork was so interesting, and Malcolm was so revolutionary, really, to really know that not just the music, but the presentation of the band was so important that he wanted to have a full-time art director, and he sure got an incredible one with Jamie Reed. I love this photo. This is Malcolm inside Glitterbest. I'm sure he was on the phone a lot. It looks like he's got two phones there. And looks like a cigarette and the music papers there. As I said, I'm sure Sophie was the one that handled the day-to-day business of the band, while Malcolm was on the phone, wheeling and dealing, doing what he did best. Another photo here of Malcolm. This is another Bob Gruen photo. I like this one too. It's a little more close up, and I'm sure he liked to talk on the phone. He was a talker. I love this photo. And this is my last Glitterbest photo. This is a photo of the band. Obviously, Sid's in the band, so this is in 1977. And the room, I just went into one room, and I remember it was very small where Sophie was, so I'm guessing this is the room that they're in. So they're hanging out there, and looks like they're drinking some beer and hanging out in the office there at 119 Oxford Street in, I guess the place was called Dryden Chambers. Actually, a viewer of this channel said that Step Forward Records was just below Malcolm's office, a flight or two below Step Forward Records. So maybe there was lots of other interesting music related businesses at 27 Dryden Chambers. Well, that's it for my photos of Glitterbest. And now I'm going to continue with the on-location video, and we're going to go to the gravesite of Malcolm McLaren, which I think of as kind of like his last art project, the headstone that he chose. All right, thanks for joining me at another episode of Why Not Go. I'm continuing my tour of important places in London with the Sex Pistols and their history. And last time I was at Highgate Cemetery. I think it was 1979, so I haven't been here in a long time. Joe just panned the surroundings. You can see it's a very beautiful place. This is Malcolm's area here. He's on the east side, and this is the grave of Malcolm McLaren. Very sad. He was born in 1946, died in 2010, and as I said, and I think in one of my videos, and people know this, he died of mesothelioma, which is caused by, is a cancer caused mostly by exposure to asbestos. And when he was redoing the shop, in one of the incarnations when he was remodeling the shop, no one would touch the ceiling. He wanted to heighten the ceiling. No one would touch it because there was asbestos, and he just said, I'll do it. And so he was covered in the white asbestos after he finished that project of knocking the ceiling out. And so I think his girlfriend thought that was probably the cause. Young Kim probably thought that was the cause of his death, and he might have as well. Very sad. He would have been, he died at 61. So, I mean, not a super young man, but I'm sure he had so much more life left to him. And I know he's a controversial figure, but I didn't know him personally, but the 3 times I met him, he was so sweet. I met him in January of 1977, and he was just so sweet. He wanted to know what I thought about Blondie. He wanted to know what I thought about the Ramones, who were playing the show that night. And we had, he really, well, I have it in the video, but, you know, he chased after me. He was very, very sweet. I think he really cared about the fans and the early punk fans, and all the punk fans. And and he also cared about the legacy of the shop. And one of the things he was working on before he died, he was protecting the counterfeiting of the Sex Dictionary's clothing, because I guess there was a lot of counterfeiting going on, and there probably still is a lot of counterfeiting going on. I read in Paul Gorman's book, which is a great book. I mean, it's about this thick. I forget, 600 pages, I think. But one of the things I learned in the book was that Malcolm was living in Paris most of the time when he died. He still went to the fashion shows. I love one of the stories in the book where he would go to these high-end fashion shows. You know, I don't know who, maybe Gucci or somebody, or Saint Laurent, and he would go up to the person on the door and say, "I'm sorry, are you on the guest list? Are you on the list?" And he would always say, "I'm Malcolm McLaren," and he'd just go walking in. I love that. Yeah, and he should be allowed in without being on the guest list. He is Malcolm McLaren, and always will be Malcolm McLaren. And so I learned that from the book, that he was living in Paris towards the end of his life, and one of the things that he was concerned about was the counterfeiting of his clothing. And young Kim, his girlfriend, went to an exhibit in New York, and I can't remember what year it was. She went to an exhibit in New York on the Sex Pistols and the clothing, and she said that half of the items, and this was at I think the New York Metropolitan Museum, someplace huge, and his girlfriend, young Kim, said that half the clothing in the museum was counterfeit. Because they were kind of big. And I remember shopping in his store, the t-shirts were tiny. I mean, it was like, and I was kind of a big American girl. And the clothes, not all of them, but the t-shirts tended to be really tiny. So anyway, so he cared about his legacy, I'm sure. He cared about the store. And I'm sure he cared about the Sex Pistols as well, the band, obviously, that he named and had such a huge part of. And then I met him 3 times. The second and third time was on the American tour. And again, he was so sweet to me, got me into free at the show in Dallas at the Longhorn Ballroom. He got me and my friend and I in for free. he said to us, oh, because he saw us at an earlier show, you don't need to pay. And then he whisked us in. And then he was super sweet at the last show I saw in Tulsa, January 11th, 1978. He said to me, you know, you girls are standing out there in the cold. Why are you girls are following us? And then he, yeah, and the last time I met him was at Kane's Ballroom in January 11th, 1978. And he was so sweet. He came out to us and saw us standing in the snow. And he said he upgraded us. We not only got into the show for free, but we got into the sound check, which was a great sound check, by the way. A lot of people have said they didn't think Sid Vicious could play, but we went to the sound check and we saw them all playing and testing the sound, and I thought Sid played just fine. And then, of course, we were there later at the show and met Steve and Paul. Briefly said hi to Sid, but didn't really meet him. But that was because of Malcolm. He saw that we were fans, and he just said, hey, you know, come on in. I don't know. I didn't know him personally, but the 3 times I met him, he was super sweet. And so here he is. This is his final resting place. And this is his final resting place. And I love the headstone. I love this, MM. What a great name he had. And 1946 to 2010. And I'll just do a close-up of his face here. That looks like his face. He had such a great head of hair. And this is my favorite part of his grave here. Better a spectacular failure than a benign success. And I don't know, but I bet he chose that. He obviously knew he was going to die, and I bet he thought about his grave as another sort of, I don't know if you call it a piece of art, but I'm sure he thought of how he wanted his grave to be, and I'm sure he had a part in the design and that great sign there, that great line, better spectacular failure than a benign success. I love that. And these are his neighbors here. Hopefully they're nice to him. Jeff Upton died in 2010. Oh, the same year that Malcolm died. And he's got a very old grave here. Sarah Barbara Bendy, and this is an older grave, passed away in 1894. So Highgate's kind of interesting. There's, well, it's very interesting, but you've got lots of old graves that are falling apart. The earth is having having its say, so to speak. And Malcolm's grave, I'm noticing, it's tilting to the left. It's sinking a little bit there in the, it's sinking a little bit there in the earth. But yeah, this is one of the places I wanted to come to on my return visit here in London. I haven't been back here since 1997. And this is definitely a place I wanted to come to, and I'm glad I made it. So I hope you enjoyed this little clip of Malcolm McLaren's final resting spot. And I just love that passage that I'm sure he chose. Better a benign success, better a spectacular failure than a benign success. I just love it. I could say that 20 times a day. Better a spectacular failure than a benign success. Well, to me, he was a spectacular success. and I'll never forget him. Thanks again for watching. Until the next time, I'll be seeing ya.